I'm home. It was a cheerful voice, uncharacteristic of my husband recently. Peeking into the entrance, I was met with a shocking sight. Oh, here she comes.
John, what's that?
John had brought home 2 secret children and his mistress, holding their hands. Good evening. Is this John's wife? She looks so pitiful. Compared to Miranda's beauty, she's a joke.
Well, I am indeed beautiful.
The mistress, Miranda, said this proudly, puffing out her chest. Miranda is a great woman who supports me well. But Kat, she's useless. A wife who can't even do that. How incompetent. Did you see her shocked face? Laughing, they both looked at me with contempt.
Yes, it's truly hilarious.
Bet you never thought I'd be having an affair with such a beauty, did you? And with such cute kids, too. You didn't know, right? They laughed together, mocking me. Now do you get it? It's time to cut ties with this foolish and oblivious family. Beside me, my daughter, who had appeared without me noticing, sneered. Oblivious? You're the ones who are oblivious. Let me teach you a lesson. Then my daughter began to speak calmly. My name is Kat, a 43-year-old housewife. I married John through an arranged marriage. While arranged marriages might seem devoid of love, we both fell in love at first sight. Unusually, we both fell for each other at the arranged meeting. Thinking back to that meeting still makes me a little embarrassed. You're much more wonderful in person than in your photo.
You're beautiful too, Kat.
A moment of silence, then.
Well.
We both spoke at the same time. So sorry. But let me say this first. Looking straight into my eyes, John said. Will you marry me? Of course. And that's how we happily got married. Our relationship was good, and a few years later, we were blessed with a daughter. Her name is Susie. As Susie grew, she began to show a somewhat unusual sense of things. It wasn't that she had problems. There were just moments when I felt she was different from other children. This became more noticeable when she started school. Hey, don't you think Susie's been acting strange lately? Huh? I don't think so. John responded while playing a game on his phone. It was hard to tell if he was really listening. I'm busy with work, so I leave Susie to you. Maybe I just don't know her well. Maybe I'm overthinking. Well, kids change as they grow, right? John dismissed it lightly. Yeah, you're right. I realized there was no point in discussing it further with him. But there were many things about Susie that concerned me. There's a part of her that's more mature than other kids. She has an oddly sharp intuition or a certain sense about things. Her school grades aren't particularly good, but that's because she says she understands most of the material just by reading the textbooks, so she doesn't study much on her own. If she tried, schoolwork would probably be a breeze for her. I thought this over by myself. That's it. I should have Susie take a psychological test. There's no time like the present. I found a counselor online who seemed like a good fit for my daughter. She was a kind-looking woman with a clinical psychologist license. A few days later. Thank you for seeing us today, Nora. The counselor greeted us with a gentle smile, as you'd expect from someone in her profession. You're welcome. So, you must be Susie? She addressed Susie, who had been silent since we entered the room. Yes. I had suggested straightforwardly to Susie, now a middle schooler, that she take a psychological test, and that's why we were here. There's no need to be so nervous. It's just a psychological test. It will help reveal your personality traits and even your IQ. You might discover something new about yourself. Look forward to it. I then stepped out to wait for my daughter to finish her test. I felt nervous myself, making the waiting time seem very long. A few hours later, the counseling room door opened. Mom, I'm done. Susie greeted me with a slightly pleased expression. It seemed the counselor had successfully eased her initial anxiety. Nora, how did it go? Seeing my nervousness, Nora smiled kindly and offered me a seat. Yes. First, here's Susie's personality analysis report. She has a strong sense of justice, but not so much that she forgets to respect others. Isn't that a wonderful trait to have as a person? Susie is a very kind girl, Kat. Susie smiled bashfully. And, don't be surprised, okay? Here's Susie's IQ score. I glanced at the paper Nora handed me, not expecting much. What? IQ 170. Yes. Susie falls into the genius category. That's amazing. No parent wouldn't be thrilled to hear their child is a genius. I have to tell John. At my words, Susie reacted quickly, almost in a panic. Mom, wait. Please don't tell Dad. Okay, but why not? Susie looked as if she were solving a difficult problem. I can't explain right now. It seemed Susie had her reasons. All right, I understand. In such moments, it's best not to push a child. One should respect their wishes. Mom? Yes? Susie looked at me with determined eyes. I want to keep seeing Nora for counseling. I strongly recommend it as well. She still needs psychological support. If the doctor says so, I have no objections. It seemed the psychological test had helped build a trustful relationship between Susie and Nora. As a parent, I felt relieved to have more allies for my daughter. And there's one more thing. What is it?
I want to start a business with you, Mom. What, really?
This surprised even me. Don't worry. I have a plan. You're a housewife, but it's good to have money for emergencies, right? Well, that's true. She had a point. As Susie grows, expenses will increase, and we can't predict the future. Having more money is never a bad thing. Kat, why not trust Susie with this? Nowadays, starting an online business is easier, with minimal initial investment and risk. It could be a great learning experience. It would be a lie to say I had no worries or fears. But I also had high hopes for Susie. All right. I oppose you doing it alone. But if I'm involved too, then okay.
Yay! Thank you, Mom.
And so, my daughter and I secretly started our business. Susie's decisions were spot on, and the business quickly took off and grew. Now, we earn many times more than my husband's monthly income. Honestly, with such earnings, we don't even need my husband anymore. I have another business trip tomorrow, so get things ready. Another trip? You've been going on a lot of trips lately. I can't help it, work is busy. Annoyed by his attitude, I couldn't help but snap back. Can't you prepare by yourself at least? What? I said I'm busy. You're a housewife, you should do this. Fine. Lately, my husband claimed he was busy with work and had more business trips. He also started acting more high-handed, possibly due to work stress. I was worn out from his behavior. Every day, his attitude and demeanor drained my spirit. Honestly, I was losing confidence in his love for me. I wonder what John thinks of me. One day, Susie called me to her room. I wondered if it was about business. I quickly finished my chores and headed to Susie's room. Sorry to keep you waiting, is something wrong? Mom, do you love Dad? Her sudden question startled me. What? Why do you ask? Of course, I do. I see. Susie seemed to ponder for a moment, then spoke with determination. There's something I need to tell you about Dad. She took a photo from her desk drawer. Here, take a look at this. I had a bad feeling but couldn't help looking at the photo. This is. It showed my husband entering a hotel with an unfamiliar woman. Dad is having an affair. No. John would never. I wanted to deny it. But with such evidence in front of me, I was too shocked to speak for a while. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't want to hurt you. But I couldn't keep it a secret. What do you mean? If you want to strike back at Dad, now's the time. Strike back. Yes, strike back. We'll get back at the person who hurt you. Don't you want to? The thought of striking back at someone I've loved until now felt strange. I can't forgive Dad for hurting you, Mom. Susie said this with tears in her eyes. I realized that she wanted to do this for me. In that case, I wanted to honor my daughter's feelings. My daughter is more important than a cheating husband. All right. Susie, thank you. Let's strike back.
Yes. I'll do my best for you, Mom.
Susie smiled with bright, sparkling eyes, looking incredibly adorable. Thank you. And so, we decided to strike back at my husband. This was the beginning of my genius daughter's revenge. All right, let's get started. Mom, look at this too. Susie pulled another photo from her desk drawer. I took it and looked at the picture. This is the same woman from before? The photo showed the woman with another man I didn't know. Yes. This is a picture of the affair partner's affair. What? The affair partner's affair? I didn't quite get it at first, but then it clicked. So, she has another man besides John? That's right. And not just any man. Her husband.
What? She's married.
Susie began to explain proudly. After finding out about Dad's affair, I did some digging on his mistress. To think my daughter, who had an IQ of 170 as a middle schooler, had grown so resourceful in high school. I'm going to tell you some pretty shocking things now, so don't be surprised, okay? First, Dad has an illegitimate child.
What?
It was impossible not to be shocked by that. Or so it was thought, but that turns out to be wrong. So, it was a misunderstanding? Dad thinks it's his child, but the truth is, it's the child of the affair partner's husband. So, John's being used? Well, you could say that. Essentially, Dad is a financial source for his mistress. These two are using each other. I see. It's quite an unusual story. First, we'll send this photo to her husband. Now, let me tell you the rest of the plan. Susie's plan was straightforward. Given my husband's personality, he wouldn't be able to keep his affair hidden forever. Together with Nora, our counselor, we analyzed that now, with the kids grown up, he was likely at his breaking point. In other words, we just needed to be ready to demand a divorce, alimony, and child support when he confessed. During his 3-day business trip, Susie and I organized all the evidence. The business trip was just a cover for a trip with his mistress. So, when did you realize John was having an affair? Since middle school. Right around the time I started seeing Nora, I talked to her about Dad's affair too. I see. So, I had been cheated on for years. And Susie had known all along. How must she have felt? I must have caused my beloved daughter a lot of distress. Alongside my sadness, I felt a rising anger. 3 days later. It was the day John was coming back from his business trip, or rather, his affair trip.
I'm home.
It was a cheerful voice, uncharacteristic of my husband lately. Peeking into the entrance, I was met with a shocking sight. Oh, here she comes.
John, what's this?
John had brought home 2 illegitimate children, holding hands with his mistress. Good evening. Is this John's wife? She looks so pitiful. Compared to Miranda's beauty, she's a joke.
Well, I am indeed beautiful.
The mistress, Miranda, said this proudly, puffing out her chest. Miranda supports me well, unlike her. A wife who can't even do that. How incompetent. Did you see her shocked face? Laughing, they both looked at me with contempt.
Yes, it's truly hilarious.
Bet you never thought I'd be having an affair with such a beauty, did you? And with such cute kids, too. You didn't know, right? They laughed together, mocking me. Now do you get it? It's time to cut ties with this foolish and oblivious family. Beside me, Susie appeared without me noticing and sneered. Oblivious? You're the ones who are oblivious. Let me teach you a lesson. John seemed to be misunderstanding something, but I was genuinely shocked. Because everything happened just as Susie had predicted. He confessed by himself. I had thought it was unlikely, but it turned out my husband was more foolish than I imagined. First of all, let me say this. How dare you hurt Mom? I will never forgive you. Never forgive me? Ha! What can a high schooler do? Sorry, John, but the ones who are foolish and oblivious are you too. What did you say? Susie stepped forward and pulled out several photos from an envelope. First of all, we've known about your affair for a long time. These photos are one piece of evidence.
What? Where did you get those?
John's face turned visibly pale. And that's not all. Your affair is also clear from your credit card statements. She produced statements showing hotel and travel expenses. We've already consulted with a lawyer. So, you'll be receiving these. Susie handed over the bills for alimony and child support to John. And here's a present from me. I handed him a signed divorce agreement that I had kept hidden.
What? What's this?
John seemed unable to grasp the situation. Understandable, given how swiftly and clearly his sins were laid out and the financial demands made.
Divorce is one thing, but why do I have to pay so much money? Yes, we have children too. That's right.
Susie let out a loud sigh. Dad, you really are beyond help. What? Your mistress. What? She seemed startled by Susie's sudden address. Her voice was shaky. Don't think we only investigated Dad.
No way.
Yes, exactly that. Contrary to Susie's beaming smile, the mistress looked horrified. Here, Dad. Take a look at this picture.
No!
Ignoring the mistress's protest, John took the photo. What is this? It was a picture of the mistress being friendly with another man. To you, Dad, it's the affair partner's affair. John reacted violently to the word affair, turning to his mistress with a furious expression. Hey, Miranda. Who is this man? Miranda turned pale and remained silent. Shall I tell you? Susie, half smiling, seemed to be enjoying the situation. That man is Miranda's husband.
What? Miranda, you're married!
And that's not all. Susie pointed to the two small children. No way. Yes, exactly.
They aren't mine? Miranda, answer me.
Gripping the children's hands tightly, John's desperate expression was met with a response that dashed his hopes. They're my husband's children. No. John collapsed to his knees, looking utterly defeated. At this point, he looked truly pathetic and miserable. Love can fade surprisingly easily, I thought. And now, for you, Miranda. Miranda flinched at Susie's sudden address. I have a special gift for you too. Susie called someone from the other room. Seeing the person, Miranda's legs gave way. You. Hello, Miranda. Though his words were normal, his voice lacked emotion. It was Miranda's husband. So, you've been having an affair with this man? And involving our children, what were you thinking?
I am sorry. It was just a fling.
Do you think that explanation will make everything okay? His eyes were cold. There was no chance of reconciliation. I was shocked when I received a letter from a girl I didn't know. Inside were photos of your affair. I've consulted a lawyer too. Miranda's husband also took out 3 papers. Here are the divorce papers and the alimony bill. Oh, and this one is for the guy over there.
What? Divorce?
You've been having an affair for years. It's only natural, right? Oh, and don't worry about the kids. I'll take them and raise them myself. Though, I wonder if you ever truly cared about them. Miranda's husband said this with a sad smile. So, in the end, it's you two who were foolish and oblivious. Getting caught like this. I made a mistake. Please, can we cancel the divorce? Maybe he thought it would be cheaper to get back together than to pay all that money. Of course not. I don't love you anymore. And I doubt you love me either. Saying it out loud made my chest ache. I wished he would deny it, but that hope was in vain. But you're a housewife, and we have Susie. Even with alimony, it'll be hard for you two to live on your own. That's why it's better if I stay. Sorry, but I haven't been a housewife for a while now. What? He looked genuinely confused. But you're always at home. When did you start working? Susie found me a job that I can do from home. Susie? Why are you bringing Susie into this? Of course, this man only cared about himself and never bothered to know anything about Susie. John, do you remember when I tried to talk to you about Susie? What? From your reaction, it's clear you don't. I continued, suppressing my disappointment. After I talked to you, I took Susie to see a psychologist. That's when we found out Susie's IQ. IQ? It's probably just a bit higher than other kids. There's no way she's smarter than me. He must think everyone is beneath him. You really are foolish. Susie's IQ is 170. IQ 170. That's genius level. John looked shocked. Probably realizing for the first time that his daughter was far superior to him. Yes. Our daughter and I started a business together. Susie's decisions have been spot on, and the business is booming. We're earning many times more than your salary now. I delivered the final blow. So, we don't need you. Go wherever you want. Being told he wasn't needed must have been a heavy blow. No. Miranda, help me. John turned to his mistress, looking for support. Of course not. You should be able to pay the alimony. You've always spent so much on your credit card. You have enough money to buy me brand name goods. And didn't you say you were in the upper management of a top company? She was clearly panicking. Miranda angrily spewed her words. But she was gravely mistaken.
How funny. Dad, did you really tell your mistress all that?
Despite her bright laughter, Susie's tone dropped as she delivered the final blow. You're just a lowly janitor.
Damn. What? You've been lying to me all this time. Unbelievable. I only came along because you said you'd provide for me.
At her words, John's brows furrowed. You were only after my money.
Of course. Who would stay with someone like you otherwise? I'm done with you. You always said you loved me.
The two of them started to argue loudly. I didn't know either. John said he was promoted from janitor to sales, and I believed him. I never thought he was lying. I felt a pang of hurt realizing my husband had lied to me too. I'm sorry, Mom. I should have told you earlier. Susie apologized, looking downcast. I loved that kind, caring side of her. It's okay, Susie. It's not your fault. Meanwhile, the two continued their argument, making a scene. It was truly pathetic.
I apologize for my wife's actions. If you hadn't informed us, I would have been left in the dark, unable to take any action. No worries, my husband has caused you trouble too.
As we spoke, Susie stepped forward, clearly fed up with the quarreling pair. Hey, you two, how long are you going to keep up this stupid fight? She marched over, pulling the two children away from them. Think about the kids. They're innocent in all this. Seeing Susie's saddened expression, both John and Miranda fell silent. And, Miranda, I'm also going to demand alimony from you.
No.
Miranda bit her lip in frustration.
I should never have gotten involved with this man.
With a cliched parting remark, she fled the scene. Her husband quickly followed after her. Thus, our revenge plan came to an end.
Damn it! How did it come to this? I should be the one complaining. It's all because of you and that girl.
Because Susie had sent certified letters to their workplaces, rumors about the affair had spread, leading both John and Miranda to resign.
What a monster! She's no child of mine. Oh my! After making her pregnant, you say that? You really are terrible. What did you say?
Their relationship had become strained since then. In fact, it seemed like changing jobs might be their only saving grace. Both eventually found jobs at different companies, but rumors of their affair followed them, making it difficult for them to keep any job for long. Especially John, who, having been a janitor, struggled to find decent employment. With debts piling up and no good job, he lived in considerable poverty. Nora, thank you for seeing me again today. Of course, just relax and talk about whatever you want. Meanwhile, I also began attending counseling, just like my daughter. It turned out my emotional wounds were deeper than I thought. Seeing me struggle, Susie decided she wanted to become a psychologist to help people like me.
I want to get my clinical psychology license and help people who are hurt, just like you, Mom.
Susie's eyes shone brightly with determination. I loved seeing that look in her eyes. Susie, you're such a kind child. Do your best in your studies.
I will.
With an IQ of 170, I knew she wouldn't have any trouble getting her qualifications if she put her mind to it. Nora, I want to become strong enough to protect my daughter, not just rely on her to protect me. Great, just having that thought means you're already becoming stronger. A mother is a great support for her children. You don't have to do anything special. Just wanting to protect your daughter is enough. Really? Then I need to get even better and spend more time with her. That's the spirit. A few years later, Susie got into a university where she could study psychology. I became healthy enough that I no longer needed counseling. We were now moving forward into a life of just the two of us. But I wasn't worried. With my brilliant daughter and my own newfound strength, I felt there was nothing we couldn't achieve. Imagining our new future, I thrust my fist into the sky.
Let's give all we got.
Under the beautiful blue sky, I renewed my determination.